So we're back out here again today with Jordan's car. So the plan today is I'm going to drop the fuel tank, pull the fuel pump out, see what they got going on inside of there so we can confirm what it is we actually have for a fuel system and then move forward from there. We do know it's got the modern performance exhaust, so that's no question. So realistically, there's just a few small things that I got to try and locate here to get the car put together. We ordered a lot of parts today. So I think where there's maybe like 2 or 3 different things that we're gonna actually need to finish the car from where it's at, but everything should be on the way. So I think realistically that should be just about everything we need other than little miscellaneous nuts and bolts here. Now I did find a lot of them in the boxes while I was going through stuff last night for the wiper motor and things like that, all the fender bolts, the hood hinges and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean really the chassis itself's in a pretty close spot. The only thing I got to really finish up with it is, to run and drive it, is check the brakes and see if they got to be bled or anything. I looked them over and the pads and everything look almost brand new, so pads and rotors were pretty fresh on the car. It doesn't look like the system had ever been opened, so realistically there's no reason for it to need to be bled, but we'll play that by ear. So I'm going to drop this fuel tank out. We'll see what we got for the fuel system and we'll go from there. Well, not exactly a fan of how this was done, but they've already epoxied it in, and as long as it don't leak, I guess we ain't worried about it. It isn't gonna see pressure. Zip ties aren't too tight, but definitely on there though. Must have packed it in with some stuff. I don't know what the zip ties are doing. They're not really tight, but overall, the rest of it's pretty good though. Tested the sending unit; it swept good, so no issues there. It is just a 255 pump. And then they got the bottleneck fix just bypassing right here. And then they're using the filler neck to return it. So instead of doing it how I would do, where I put the return here, they're just using the filler neck instead, which is an easy, non-invasive thing to do. So I'm gonna cram this thing back in the car and then get the cherry picker set up, get the motor set up on the engine stand how it's supposed to be, get everything kind of pushed back here, and then get back to working on the motor in the car. Well, we got another night in with the car. Didn't get as much done as I was planning on, but we did get something done. Dropped the fuel tank out, checked it. He thought it might have been a 450 pump. It was a Walbro 255. That'll be enough fuel pump for what he's trying to do with the car anyway. So he's only looking for 350 to 400 horsepower on pump gas. So pump will definitely flow enough. We just gotta get the get a regulator, feed line, rail. And that should be pretty much it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set him up with the regulator on the firewall, and then we're gonna regulate pre-rail. And then that'll keep the setup simple. He can use a factory 0405 rail. We'll just have to get some clips. I do have a rail, so we'll have to get some clips. Had the injector shipped this morning, so whenever those get here, that'll be ready to put together. But I also did get the return line stuffed in the car, and I'll show you guys that real quick here. So it did have the AGP return line, so it's got the fitting there, and then I just followed it along the evap line up underneath, and then the brake line, and I ran it all the way up that way. So that, and it has a fuel pump rewire, which interestingly enough has a fuse all the way in the back of the car. So I don't know, I guess what they planned on happening if the wire were to rub through on the body between the alternator and the back, but so they dodged the bullet on that deal, I guess. Just gonna cut it off, and I'll put a fuse on this end when we tie it into the alternator. So it does have a fuel pump rewire in it. I'll get rid of the old relay that's back there. We'll put a different one in it. Same amperage but smaller body relay, something a little cleaner, and add the fuse to the circuit here. So yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much all we did for the day though, guys. So I got a bunch of parts ordered for the engine, and realistically the rear timing cover is not going to be here until Monday at the latest, so I really can't do much. So I'm not going to really be able to rush and try and get the motor and trans and everything in the car this week. So what I can at least do, get it on the stand right, and then kind of clean it out a little bit, put the pan on, get the manifold and everything hung on it, get the water block off and stuff done when that stuff shows up. And then when the timing cover gets here, then I can put the belt and stuff on it. We'll hang it off on the cherry picker, put the clutch on, put the trans on, drop it in the car. I do have a shift cable bracket and everything, so we are able to get all that stuff done. But I am going to wrap this one up for the night though, guys. What's going on, guys? So made some more plans with the red car today, dug up some more parts, so we're going to put the factory fuel feed line in it, and then I'm going to set him up with a filter setup that comes out of the canister, goes into the filter, and then into the factory feed line, and then we'll have the factory feed line come up, and then I'll use that to feed a regulator wherever we decide to put it, and then go ahead and plumb the lines to the rail. It worked pretty good for him because, I mean, we're doing the same thing with a stock 03 fuel rail. The only reason I got the 03 is so I can have the sensor on the end of it, so we're flowing pretty good, and that's on ethanol, and the ethanol takes more fuel to make same power, so with this one we should be all right. So yeah, let's get this fuel line stuffed in here, get the plan set where I want to put his filter and stuff with all the extra things he has in there. So his return line setup is different than mine, and a couple other things, so there's a little bit of clearance issues that we might have to work with. Let's get this thing in here and see what we got to work with the room that we got left in the car. So talking with Jordan, just waiting to hear back from him real quick on this one, but what I think we're going to end up doing is we're going to use the AGP return line, and then we're going to use a 90, and then we'll just take like a short 2-foot piece and we'll run it over to here, because we're not going to have the washer bottle. And then what I could do with not using the washer bottle is we take the coolant overflow hose that we have, we'll follow it up along the body here, bring it through the hole, and then we can use that and tie it to the fuel line so it keeps it up and clean and out of the way, and then run that to the overflow port off of the thermostat housing. But what we're going to do with the fuel line is we're going to use the factory feed line. So we'll get the female fitting, and then we'll run that to a -6, and then we'll use this Aero-Clip socketless, and then I will run the hose this way, and then P-clamp it here, and I could kick it out like that, because that'll probably put it really close to I'm gonna guess here as far as being in line with the regulator itself. And I got good clearance with the motor mount, so what I'll probably do is I'll take this line here and then I'll just 45 it going into the regulator, and it'll probably end up being really close to that. So if I can get away with that, then we clear there, we're all good. And then the return line, I'll just run that, so that'll be a small dash forward. We'll go under the AC line and then run that back to the return line there. And then we'll take a 150 degree dash 6 to push lock fitting, and then we'll choke that up and run that to a 90 to go into the rail. So the feed line will actually probably come right about like this, and then bam, right in. So, and it'll be really close mimic to how I got this set up. Just the only difference is we're gonna be over this way a little more. And then like I said, this is a 120. So we're gonna take a 150. And by the time we have the 150, it'll probably be right in here, I'm gonna guess. So it'll swing it, and then we'll come this way with the line and then dump it right into the rail that way. So that'll keep everything pretty clean. And then like I said, with because I can use this for reference because I don't have a regulator for that side, we can take the dash 490 and then drop it, and then just take the return line and run it straight back and hook it into the return line that we got set up over here. So that'll make it nice, it'll make it easy, it'll be serviceable. You know, if he wants to take it out and change the setup, he can always go back to, you know, easier stuff. He can go to like a AGP kit if he wants to move the regulator back further and wants to go back to a washer bottle or something like that. So at least with this, we don't have to go in and change the whole fuel system again if he wants to move it around. This will be a pretty good spot for him to work with. This is actually, we're getting kind of wrapped up with what we're doing with the body here. I set the AC parts in there just so I could see what kind of clearance I had for the fuel line and the motor mount and everything. So we got that all figured out. I gotta finish getting the evap line kind of set in here and out of the way. And then once that's all set in, I can pretty much be done with the body here. Maybe plug in the wheel speed sensors in the front. But other than that though, I got 5 wires. I gotta chase out of the ECM, so I got 3 on the bottom, 2 on the top. So we'll chase those down, see what that is. There is some wiring sitting on the floor. I'm wondering if that's for the toys. If it is, I gotta pull all that through. And then I will also have to unbolt the master from the booster so I can try and get the clutch master out, because we're gonna put the braided line in it. So get that thing pulled out and then swap the line over, get it all stuff back in. It's a couple hours worth of stuff, so it should be pretty simple. And then we can really start focusing with the motor and get this guy put back together. So realistically, I mean, a few more days worth of work and this car should be done. Just need to get all the parts in one place so we can do that. And we had most of it, and then sent the turbo off to get it rebuilt and got a lot of the little remaining pieces here and there that add up to try and really get this thing done. So we're, like I said, we got the fuel system I think planned out, or at least I got it planned out for now. If he wants to change his mind, I can make a new plan, but that's no big deal. I kind of like doing that stuff, it's easy. But yeah, so like I said, I'm gonna finish bending around with this evap line, try and get the best clearance I can from everything. When I get that stuff done, I'll go ahead and I'll set the cherry picker up here. We'll grab the motor and fix it up here on the stand how it needs to be set up. Pull this starter plate off more than likely. And so yeah, when I have it in the air, I'll probably just go ahead and pull the flex plate and the starter plate both. And then we'll get it set back on here and work on addressing the engine. So, got the transmission ready, got most of the body ready. Now we just got to get the motor ready. And then, like I said, we can get the motor back in the car once we have all those parts, and I can put the turbo in it. And that's actually the plan, is I was going to put the turbo on in the car. So yeah, I'm going to button this thing up here and we'll get this engine flipped around on the stand and probably call it a night, because I do have a ton of footage that I got to try and go through. So just bear with me here, guys. I'll bring you back in once we're ready to start playing around with the motor here. We ended up making a different use of our time. Instead of playing with the engine, I went inside the car and found out what those extra leads were that go to the ECM. It's actually the toy harness. So the dial boost, high octane mode, intercooler sprayer, stuff like that, harness comes out and it routes itself down, and those leads that they had cut off from the ECM are what go to this toys harness here. So I got some 6-pin weather pack connectors I'm going to pin up. We're going to put all that stuff together, and then there's one single lead that I'll get a single weather pack for that goes to the ECM harness. Thanks Josh and Keegan, by the way, for confirming that that is a toys harness. So we at least got that stuff figured out, and I can get those connectors in there so we can pin everything in, make it easily serviceable so we're not fighting with it or he has to cut it to take it back out. And there's also those 2 fuel pump connectors back here. I'm going to go ahead and I'll take care of that stuff. Just get rid of the one, put a different lead in the fuel pump where it ties in, where he has power split off that goes to the other pump, and then we could just clean all that stuff up, redo the relay, and use the rewire that he's got. Just add the fuse up here at the alternator side. He did confirm that we're going to go with the plan that I had set forth for the fuel system. So we're going to try and mount the regulator off here somewhere, and then we'll take our fuel lines in and then run those over. So we'll clear our AC lines, clear the motor mount and everything like that. So realistically, that's just about everything planned. Oh, we're also going to do a plug and play watt box harness with a shift light from Jacob. So when that thing gets here, I can go ahead and stuff the wire through the firewall and get all that stuff hooked up, get the clutch pinned in and everything. But I mean, realistically, I know I've been putting off playing with the motor here for the past couple days, but in the meantime, we're at least getting a plan. And like I said, I'm not going to have all the parts anyway to at least get the motor assembled enough that I'm ready to put it in the car, because I don't want to fight with having to do the timing belt in the car when it's already out. So I just want to time it on the stand. We'll put the clutch on, transmission, shove it in, and be a lot easier that way, a lot faster. Won't have to worry about potentially scratching the car trying to shove these plates in and out. And they're polished, so I mean, if we nick it up or scratch it or rub it across some red paint, it's definitely going to show. So the plate for the AC that goes here and the engine support plate are both polished up just like this stuff. So there's the engine support one, so that's all polished up just like this stuff. But yeah, I mean, digging through baggies and finding miscellaneous bolts, you know, fender bolts, the motor mount bolts, I'm actually going to put these guys in instead of the ones that I have. So I just got some raw ones that are in there right now, just because I didn't want to have white ones in there and have them pop and look way out of place, but we found the red ones, so we're going to use those. Like I said, we got the fuel system planned, so I will get a shopping list together for everything on that. I already got the line, which I have enough line that I could do, you know, the back with the filter and the front here. So I'm covered on line. Just got to get some fittings, hose ends, and regulator, bracket, and we're going to use the 0405 fuel rail, so we're done there. Got to get the injector clips, which I think I could just grab those off eBay. And his tires actually showed up today too, and I'll go grab those here in a minute, and I'll show you guys those things. But yeah, so like I said, I know I've been putting off playing with the engine, but get the rest of the car planned, and then in the meantime, we have a lot of parts for the engine that I can get a lot of it taken care of and at least dressed and ready for the timing belt, so we can get this thing dropped in here. But we'll go out and we'll grab these tires quick, and we'll put them behind the car. Not sure when I'll get a chance to run them up to the tire shop. Maybe tomorrow morning. I work at 11:30, but I was going to try and hang the engine before work, so I could at least have that ready. That way, if I decide to come out here after work, then I could just come out here and start working. I don't have to worry about cleaning it up, setting up the cherry picker. So I'm gonna try and do all that stuff in the morning. I'll take all the wheels and tires up, and I'll see if I can get somebody to mount these for me and drop them off at the tire shop, and then go pick them up another time. So we got these Federal 235/45 17s that we're gonna stick on those center lines. So these tires, like I said, they're pretty heavy tire. They're steel belted, but they're not expensive and they hook good. So I hope they work out for us. But I'm gonna get to hauling all these things in. Usually they come taped in pairs, which is kind of weird that they didn't on this load, but oh well. But anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna haul all these tires out here though, guys. I'm gonna wrap this one up. So you guys have yourself a good one. Stay safe, and we will see you tomorrow when we get back out here to work on the car. Thanks, guys.